Hello and welcome to a new episode of Josh's Car Corner and the 17th installment of Project Crewman. So the winter has been going on and there have been a lot of little projects I've been working on the Crewman. Some of them cosmetic, some of them functional, but it's been an ongoing process for the past few weeks and months. So I'm just going to take you through all the things that I've been working on since the last episode. Let's get to it. Okay, now comes one of those jobs that I've been kind of dreading doing, and it is going to be changing the gear oil in the rear axle, which I never did after I got it, and it probably needs it. And this cover definitely needs some attention, because you can see here, there's dried gear oil all over here and on the bottom. Looks like it's probably been leaking out the fill hole, actually, so I might just try to find myself a big rubber gasket for that to put back on, but I think I'm going to take this whole cover off, clean it up, clean the inside out really good, see if I can find a replacement gasket for the actual cover itself. If I can't, I'll just have to make one out of RTV. I'm not looking forward to this job because if you've ever changed gear oil, it stinks. Oh, it smells bad. Well, I've got the cover off. You can see there's a little bit of blue RTV in there, and I gotta admit, I've smelled worse. This fluid might have been fairly fresh, but I had no way of knowing. You can see it's kind of brown there, but clearly it was leaking right here, so I got some things to fix. I'm going to repaint this cover, clean this all up, then refill it with some good fresh fluid. Okay, it is the next morning. As you can see, I've painted the cover. I just had some paint I used for my calipers a long time ago laying around, so I used that. Not perfect, but at least there's no bare metal anymore. Unfortunately, there is no gasket for this thing. You make a gasket out of RTV, which I loathe. So I got a gasket made all the way around it and tighten all these bolts up. Gonna let it dry for a few hours and then I'll fill up with the axle fluid. So tonight's project is a simple wiring project with this connector. So this is a body control module connector, and it is the only one that doesn't come off of the dashboard harness. It comes off of the floor harness. So when I was doing all the repinning of the floor harness, what never occurred to me is that the door sensors for driver and passenger side would have their wires swapped on this connector. So all the time that I've been opening the doors, it's been saying that the passenger door is open when I open this door, and saying the driver's door has been shut. But I just swapped the two wires that I needed to swap. It's actually not that hard to get them out of the connectors. All it requires is a pick, and it's pretty easy. So now when I manipulate that, now it says driver's door status open, closed, open, closed, like it should. And now when I turn the key off, it should beep because the key is in. Well, we can't have everything, but at least that's now correct. Okay, next problem to tackle tonight is the backup lights. Now these haven't worked since I got the car running because the way it's supposed to work when you have a V6 model in Australia is the powertrain information module up there has a wire that when you throw the car in reverse, the computer sends a signal to that to put 12 volts out on a pin and then run it to a relay that lives in here to trigger reverse lights. So I wired all that up. I added a relay right here. Unfortunately, in V8 mode, this doesn't ever send that signal, so I have to come up with a mechanical way of doing it. So I have an idea to rig up a dip switch on the shifter, very similar to the ones that are on here, and we'll get to that part later. But right now I'm just testing my relay system to make sure the backup lights come on. So I've just got a wire going into the two pins here. So I'm just gonna put 12 volts on this other wire and see what happens. All right, and here's what I'm going to do. Remember, I had a fourth button right here. This was for active select or to activate tap shift. So one of these wires already runs to the powertrain interface module on that connector right there. So I'm just going to cut it and repurpose it, and I'm going to put another one of those dip switches right here on the other side of the shifter, find a way to attach it, and then that's going to be my signal wire. So it'll have 12 volts on it at all times, and then when the switch gets tripped, it'll send 12 volts to the trigger for the relay, and then that will activate the reverse lights. So now I just got to figure out how to install that little switch right there. All right, I just finished up the wiring for this backup switch. So let me explain how this works. So here is my little switch. So as the shifter moves up and down like this, once it gets to the reverse position, it triggers that little button right there. So there's power coming in, and once the circuit closes, there's power going back out the green wire. I have a new connector down here that's plugging into the same connector that was holding that active select switch that I'm no longer using. And I added one wire so I could provide power to the switch. It comes all the way back over here to the powertrain interface module. It's tucked away up here. So the active select wire is now running to the wire that was coming out of here to trigger this reverse relay right here. So now, when the key is on, 12 volts is coming to the relay. The signal wire is being triggered by this thing. So when I throw it in reverse, you should hear a click. Yep, there was the click. And now the lights are on. And if I throw it back in neutral, lights go off. So there you go. A mechanical solution to an electrical problem. All right, it's time for another one of my winter upgrades, and this one I'm really excited about because I wanted to do it for quite a while. It's going to be updating the gauge faces on the cluster. So once I got the Crewman running, you'll know that I had this cluster in here. This is actually the cluster that came in my GTO, but GTO gauge faces are not going to cut it when I'm trying to go for that authentic Holden look. So my original intention was to use this cluster. This is actually an SSZ cluster. This is one of only 965 made, or however many SSZs they made. But there are a couple of problems you can see right off the bat. Number one, you'll notice that under the coolant temp and the fuel, they don't have the extra displays that the GTO clusters do. This is actually one of the places GM spent money on making the Pontiac GTO good. They got us the luxury level cluster that has all of the gauge readouts on it. This is actually a mid-level cluster, so I don't want to give up those two displays, so that cancels it out. Even if it had them, number two, there is a problem here that this connector, even though it looks just like the connectors on the GTO, it is actually physically different. There's a notch on the connector that's in a different place, so you can't just plug these one for another. Now you can cut that little notch off and then it will go in there, but the connector is actually pinned out differently. So if you try to plug an Aussie cluster into a GTO, it just freaks out and gives you a bunch of error messages because it's getting power and signal in the wrong places. So since that cluster is out, I came up with a new solution. Use this cluster, get new faces. So I got made these. These got made by a company called Black Cat Custom out of Canada. I wanted to get something that looked as close as it could to this, but would also have display in miles per hour. And there was a lot of back and forth with them, a lot of discussing how I wanted it to make sure I got the SSZ logo and the V8 in here and the black surrounds. This is all custom stuff, so I paid a little extra to get this, but I got it exactly the way I wanted it. And it was not an easy task to get this here either, because with the tariffs implemented, they weren't even sure if they were going to be able to ship this to the US. And I was working out all kind of backhanded arrangements with people I knew in Canada to send it to them first and then somehow get it across the border to me. Fortunately, that all got worked out. They figured out how to ship it. I actually had to pay an import duty on it now to get it here, but the point is, it's here. I'm gonna put this in the cluster, and it's gonna actually look the way it's supposed to, and it's gonna be kind of close to the color the car will ultimately be to, which I'm really stoked about. So if you've never done this before, it is a bit tricky. Basically, there's all these big plastic tabs on the back, and there's some clear ones on the bottom here. You can do this by hand, you don't need tools, you just gotta push them in one at a time and slowly work your way around while gently prying on the sections you've already detached, and work your way around and it will eventually come off. And then there's no special tools or anything holding this down. This bezel comes right off, it's not held in with anything. The tricky thing is the needles. Take a picture of where your needles are resting before you start, or if you have a spare cluster, you can use that as a reference, because I've done this before, taken the needles off, put them back on, thought I was putting them in the right place, then I go and run the car and everything is way off. So there's not like a flat spot that aligns them. It's up to you to get them in the right position when you put them back on. So I'm gonna take this apart and then reference my other cluster here to put it back together. These tiny ones are tricky. It's hard to get your fingers under them. There we go. Okay, and then this old gauge face should come right off, like that. Now, finally open. Which end of this is gonna open? Try not to touch this too much. There we go. And dun 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 dun. There are little alignment dowels around the edges here that this is supposed to sit onto, so it's aligned. Okay, well, I guess that's good. So now it's time to put these needles back on. When it comes to putting these needles back on, the way to do this is to get it on the post just barely and move it about, I don't know, halfway up, so then it'll hit its bottom where it can stop, and then you know where that bottom position is. So I know this needs to be resting about, that much off of the bezel. So that one's easy to align. So then I move it back up a little bit, push it down, check it. Okay, that seems okay. They're a lot easier to spin on the post when they're just a little bit on there. That's why I say just get them on a little bit. All right, so there you go. That is all back together. This snaps back on pretty quickly, but if I had it, I would do this, but what you could do is take some headlight cleaner and go over your faceplate while you've got it all apart and really get all the scratches and things out of it to reduce glare, make it look a lot better. I'm going to get some cleaner, and I'm going to eventually do that, but if you wanted to, this would be a good time to do it while it's all apart. So all you got to do is line these pieces back up like so, and then just slowly start to press. Do a double check, make sure they're all in their grooves, and then, okay, that's in. Okay, and there you go, just like that. New gauges for the Crewman. There's also 2 T15 screws that go back here too. Forgot to mention that. I got them downstairs. Put that back in, put this back in the car. One more project, done. So as you can see, got reverse lights, got a new gauge cluster in there. I'm very excited about that. And I did a little cleanup under the hood too. I had this one connector for the ABS module that I didn't have the actual housing on for the longest time. Finally put that on, so now the engine bay looks good and all the wiring is concealed. But there is one more cosmetic upgrade I made that I need to show you right now. Check these babies out. So what you are looking at is 18-inch wheels off of a base model Pontiac G8. So they're 18x8 split 5-spoke pattern. I got these used from a guy for $100, and they were in pretty rough shape. They all had a ton of curb rash, and 2 of them were actually bent. But I found a shop locally that was able to straighten them out and take out all the curb rash for $240. And then there is a local powder coater that I took the wheels to get them in this 2-stage color with the metallic in them for $640. So I am into these wheels for just shy of $1,000, and I think they came out really well. I got some brand new NOS Holden center caps for them. Now the interesting thing is the Crewman actually runs a taller profile tire than a Commodore or a GTO Monaro would. It's about 1 inch taller. It's actually the same height profile as a Pontiac G8. The only difference is they run a narrower tire. They run a 225. But I wanted to run 245s. I really like that look, and I wanted the extra grip. So the problem with this is if you do that with factory struts, they end up rubbing the inside of the strut. So to get around that, I got my hands on some 5mm wheel spacers. Now anybody that's got a GTO knows that when you got factory 18s, they only put 235 wide tires on them, because if they went any wider, you'd run into the same problem, that the tire would actually start to rub the inside of the strut. But if you put these on, moves everything out 5mm. Now if you put a 245 tire on there, it's 10mm wider, but it's only 5mm on each side of the tire. So this moves it out 5, the tire's 5mm wider. It's a net zero change, and then you can run 245s on factory 18s on a GTO or on any factory VZ car. Now these I got on eBay. They're from Racer Performance. They were $24 for a pair, so 4 of them is only $48. I did have to get the hole opened up a little bit because it was a 66.8mm hole. Just a simple machine shop widening of the hole. Perfect, done. They've got bolt pattern for 12mm wheel studs and 14mm wheel studs. Cheap and easy way to go. And then you can run the nice wide tires and get a little more aggressive stance out of the car as well. I think it looks really nice, spaced out just that little extra bit. And I got some lug nuts for them because the problem is with VZ cards, the wheel studs are not very long. They're only basically long enough for the stock lug nut and stock wheel, and they don't even really protrude out of that. So once you put different wheels on, and especially ones that were designed for the car, those become a little short. And factory lug nuts wouldn't even get all the way flush with the end of the wheel stud. So these bolts have got an extended shank on them that has more threads that'll actually catch and grab. So there's more threads on the wheel stud actually being engaged by the bolt. Now the lug nuts did come with that goofy socket that's got the splines in it to take the lug nuts on and off. I'm not a huge fan of it, and as a result, I may not keep these lug nuts on the car. There are some other ones I could get out of Australia that are actually designed for these wheels, but they have the 12 millimeter thread cut in them that would come on the VZ wheel studs. So I may get those, but the guy who makes them wouldn't ship them to me because of tariffs and all that stuff. So I may send them to a friend and then have them sent over later. So as you can see, a bunch of little projects that are really adding up to really changing the look on the Crewman. Got a brand new gauge cluster in there that looks right and really dresses the inside of the car up. Got some new wheels on there that are also holding wheels that really add to the look. Got backup lights now, that's excellent. The engine bay looks a little fancier. There's gonna be more things I have to do over the winter, but that is gonna do it for this update episode on Project Crewman and this episode of Josh's Car Corner. See you next time.